Hey, welcome back. Today I wanted to explore a fusion of flavors from East and West Africa. It's a tomato peanut plantain stew with seared lamb and fried polenta. To get started, let's get a couple tablespoons of clarified butter melting in a large pot over medium heat. Once it's melted, add in a diced onion. Saute that for a few minutes until it's transparent. Then we'll go in with 60 grams of garlic ginger paste. That's 30 grams of minced garlic, and 30 grams of minced ginger. Saute that all together until it's fragrant. Then we'll add in some East African spices in the form of a couple teaspoons each of coriander seeds, cardamom, and turmeric. Mix those in well and let them toast a little bit to release their oils. Then we'll go in with 2 tablespoons of tomato paste and mix that in as well so everything's coated. Now let's go in with a kilo of diced tomatoes. Cover that up and let it simmer for about 10 minutes until the tomatoes start to break down and release their juices. Now we'll add in a few tablespoons of peanut butter, about 125 milliliters. I'm using the all-natural kind that's just peanuts and oil, but feel free to use ground peanuts or even the mass-produced kind as long as it's not too sweet. Mix that in well, and feel free to add a little bit of water if it's looking too thick at this point. I put in about a cup, but it's up to you what consistency you want. Now the peanut butter could fit into a few recipes from East and West Africa, but the inspiration here is from a matoke sauce from East Africa. Now season that with a few pinches of salt, and we'll add in 3 chopped plantains. This part was also inspired by the matoke recipes, which are made using a type of banana called a matoke, which is small and bland in flavor. If you can get your hands on those, go right ahead. A nice alternative would also be cassava, but I opted for green plantains, which should pair nicely with the peanut butter. After all, peanut butter and banana is a classic combo. Next up, we'll be adding a couple teaspoons of ground fermented locust beans, aka sumbala, dawa dawa, or iru. This is a common West African ingredient, and it'll add a robust umami flavor. Side note, it can be pretty intense in flavor, so go easy if you're not used to it. Along with that, I'm adding in 3 halved habanero peppers. These ones are fairly mild for habaneros, but add in as many or as few as you want. Now let's add in a bunch of chopped greens. I'm using dandelion greens here since their bitter flavor should balance out the peanut butter and dawa dawa pretty nicely. Bring that to a simmer, cover it up, and let that all cook together for at least 30 minutes until the plantains have softened up and the flavors have had a chance to deepen. While that's going, let's turn our attention to the polenta. This will be a twist on ugali, pap, nsima, or any other corn flour porridge used as a staple starch in East Africa. I like polenta here for its texture and for its extra corny flavor. So season a liter of cold water in a saucepan and add 200 milliliters of cornmeal. And starting it in cold water will remove the possibility of lumps, so this is highly recommended. Bring that to a light boil, stirring occasionally to make sure it's not sticking to the bottom of the pot. Once your spoon leaves a distinct trail in the porridge before settling back, go ahead and pour it out into a well-oiled baking sheet. And let that cool in the fridge until it's solid. Once it's cooled, flop your polenta sheet onto a cutting board and cut it into whatever fancy shape you like. I'm going with right triangles because sharp corners taste good. Now get a little clarified butter or cooking oil up to temperature in a skillet over medium-high heat. Add in the polenta shapes and fry until crispy on both sides. And now finally, some optional protein. Let's season a single lamb rib chop per person with a generous amount of salt, and sear it in the same skillet for a couple minutes per side, or until the internal temperature reads 60 degrees Celsius for rare meat. And with that, we're ready to plate. think I had something like this in Dorsia back in the day. That is a whole lot of flavors coming together on this plate. The stew has both the big, bold, spicy flavors of West African cuisine, as well as the brighter, fresher flavors of East African cuisine. You've got the dawa dawa or the iru, bringing this bold umami foundation. Cutting through, you get those fragrant spices from the East African pantry. And then you've got the rich creaminess of the peanut butter holding everything together. All of that perched on top of the polenta gives it a really delightful texture, and it lightens things up just the right amount. So really, I'd recommend any piece of this dish at any given time. The polenta and the lamb would go great together. The stew would be great on its own. And altogether, they're a really unique meal. So I hope you give this one a try and let me know in the comments if you did. See you next time. Cheers.